Welcome everybody to another wonderful meeting. I'd like to call to order and do the roll call. Or do I read it first? Yeah.
Hillary?
Yes. Present.
Iman?
Present.
Eleanor? Laura?
Present.
Sakura? Denise?
Here.
Amy?
Here.
Emily?
Yes.
And Raphael?
Here. Excellent. First thing on our agenda for today is the approval of September 9th, 2024 meeting minutes. Can I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nice. All right. Moving right along. Next up is the public comment. The next item on the agenda is public comment time. This is where we allow members of the public to address the village board. To address the council on a topic that is within our purview and jurisdiction, but is not listed in another location on the agenda. If you'd like to speak about a matter that is listed on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called and we will give you an opportunity to speak then. If your matter is on the consent agenda, please let us know if you would like us to remove the matter so we can speak about it. Anyone desiring to speak shall fill out a written speaker form located in the back of the boardroom over by the window. And then turn that in. We will then direct the village staff or whoever's here to respond to any issues or questions at a later date. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. To be fair to all, we will strictly enforce this rule. Per established policy, we will limit all public comment for a total of 30 minutes. We request that all speakers be respectful, civil, and non-repetitive. And we ask that all members of the audience refrain from applauding or making any other comments during or after any speaker. So I kind of giggle because if we were having no applauding or commenting during our meetings, that'd be awesome. Obviously, there's no one here from the public to make any type of public comment. So we'll move on to number 4 already, subcommittee reports. I am part of Group A, Community Relations. In our last meeting, we discussed about some shuffling of people in their subcommittees that they wanted to be reshuffled. I offered my spot on this commission to Laura, but I didn't get a chance to speak to you about it. So that way you're, if you want it, it's yours, or if there's some other position or someone wants to switch. Isn't that community
Wasn't that
relations?
integrating
I think that's
community
integrating
feedback?
community feedback.
I know, jumping to D, just I want
Okay.
to catch you guys off guard. So.
I read the meeting minutes from
last time, right?
So you're not catching me.
So community relations, I apologize.
A plus. That's fine.
And I feel like community relations was the one, and I apologize, I wasn't at the September meeting, but we were still all like a little, as I recall, unclear
Yes.
about what we were doing there because I think we all had different understandings of the format. Did you guys come to any, I read the minutes.
It's a format. I don't know.
Meaning historically, meaning in its previous iteration, 12 months ago, the idea was that we all, regardless of committee affiliation, had sort of relationships that we maintained with
Yes.
different community organizations. But then I think that became a little less clear when the Community Relations Committee was formed, that like some people, it seemed, at least in meetings, felt they were meant to kind of take on all of those relationships, which would be nuts, but if that's the will of the committee, then.
I don't even think we've gotten that far.
Okay, just making
We've-
sure.
We still, I mean, we were
Okay.
still,
I just feel like it's
we're
come up
still
a
trying to
few
figure out the
times.
numbers.
Yeah.
I circulated that spreadsheet. I don't know if anybody did anything with it. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Was there a
I looked
spreadsheet?
at it. I didn't have any feedback.
There was a Google Doc. I put an Excel spreadsheet in Google Docs that I think you circulated after the last meeting, just to get people's input on where everybody has existing relationships, whether those are relationships that, you want to maintain, or if it's something you want to turn over to the Community Relations Committee. If there are other organizations we're missing.
Got it. I
Nothing.
wasn't
You,
aware.
you sent it out, you sent it out on September 10th.
That's when Ben sent it out. Because I don't think I sent it to the group.
Yeah,
Right. I think I sent it to you.
I was eager to see it and I don't recall getting it.
No,
It was definitely
September.
circulated.
I believe that it was, because I
You got it.
have had it, no, I just say no.
Can it get some one time?
Yeah, I sent it to Ben,
Okay.
Emma and Raphael, just to say like,
Okay.
does this look okay? And then I'm pretty sure Ben circulated it to the whole group.
It came from Ben.
I believe so. Is that right?
September 13th.
From Ben?
From Ben, it was the council, September 9th meeting minutes. And it's the bullet number 2.
Got it.
There should be a
Yes,
Google Doc.
Thank you. Okay. I have, start this.
Or just, did we kind of, like we talked about that you were gonna work with Michelle, is that right?
Yeah,
Remember that?
possibly for like the lights, having people there, I think was the
Okay,
thought.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't.
No, it's fine, but I've
But that's
also,
something we still wanna do.
I've messaged her like a bunch of times to get a
Okay.
picture for the article that I wrote, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, a long time ago, and I still haven't.
She hasn't responded? Wow.
No, I mean, she's kind of like that, she's super busy and, you know. I get it, it's okay.
We decide that's something we wanna do, if we want people there from Snap or see if she wants.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to
I think it's a
We'll
great
get there.
idea.
Okay.
So, for those that did get to see it or didn't get to see it, community organization library that's been assigned to Amy because of her ongoing relationship with them. GYS, Glencoe Youth Services is Laura. St. Paul's is there to, here says Hillary. Hillary's also there for Writers Theater. Amon, because of your relationship, District 35.
Mhm.
Also Women's Library Club, we talked about
Yep.
at the last meeting. Amy, the Botanic Gardens, PTO, Laura, Boy Scouts, Laura, Girl Scouts, empty.
And then there are lots of holes, right?
Yeah.
Like there,
So what are the couple notes?
if you, I mean, I don't know, because I don't have it open.
I don't know.
So the holes, I'll just go in order, is the Nutro Transition Center. I would say I talk to them sometimes. I have a relationship with them, but I mean, it hasn't felt like there has been many opportunities to collaborate, like they know who we are, we know who they are, we talk sometimes. So I'm happy to just continue that, or we can,
You know, I sort of saw this as more like a, do you have a relationship? Do you want to continue it?
Yeah.
And if not, that's okay too. Like,
so yes, I do, and happy to continue.
okay.
The next hole is the Clergy Association, and I would leave that kind of, you can say it's me, or we can just leave it blank. The Clergy Association is a different body than I think I understood it to be. So I've learned a lot about it in the course of the last few months, because we felt like we lost Pastor Kay, and then Salona Hayes, who came in as their pastor, and we meet regularly. But she, how do I say this? It doesn't feel as though she's so, because of the nature of the St. Paul position where it is itinerant and they tend to, they turn over with relative frequency, every couple of years. I don't know that Pastor Kay was a good example of how that can work. Like, she was sort of someone who did everything all the time. And so she had a very tight relationship with the Clergy Association. But in fact, I wouldn't assume that St. Paul would be the most natural sort of conduit to the Clergy Association. So then I started reaching out to other members. And I learned that it's more like an association. I guess it calls itself an association. So it's an association, but not in the sense that like they don't meet every month. They don't have a set agenda or a series of tasks. They tend to be reactive, meaning something happens in the community. We're, how do we reach out to one and all and have them speak with one voice, activate the Clergy Association, as we've seen in instances like with Highland Park and October 7th and things like that. So, but it's not like we had, the village had looked to talk with them more last spring as some of the continuing conversation around October 7th and kind of wanting to feel like we were supporting everyone appropriately after getting some feedback that some members of the community didn't feel like they were being supported appropriately in the wake of October 7th. And so I sort of looked to the Clergy Association to give me some guidance, and they were kind of like, that's not how this works. Like, we don't all speak with one voice in that way. And so ultimately I started just meeting individually. It's so adjacent to the GCIC, but separate from our work. I started meeting with just individual heads of the different clergy. And, you know, I think in some ways it's actually not unlike this body in that, like, they are all affiliated and they are all agree on certain things, but it's a hard group to kind of wrangle and agree on.
Treat it
They all, yeah,
A unit.
correct.
Sure.
So in any case, I would just leave that as it is.
Okay.
Because I don't think,
Well, it's nice to know that you are reaching out to
for sure.
parts of the
People
clergy and in
individually.
general will have little touch points through you.
For sure.
that.
I mean, I would say
Maybe
that
that's
just
the
like
best
the
of it.
village of Glencoe probably owns that, like between me and Phil and probably Ben as his, as he continues to get, we try and not. have-
And is the pastor, she's not coming on to the committee?
She is not. She doesn't live in Glencoe. So it's one of those.
I don't manage that.
And yeah,
Did the pastor before live in Glencoe?
yes, Pastor K lived in, so St. Paul has a manse, like a house on
Right.
site, and the past two pastors have officially, like Reverend Gary and Pastor K, both technically live there. Pastor K more so than Reverend Gary, who kind of, but that was his official residence. Pastor Hayes actually, I think she lives in Forest Park and works in Gary. So she, yeah, you know,
Found in the.
Really only here.
Is there any other clergy in Glencoe who live in Glencoe? I mean, Steve does, but.
Steve does. Yeah, I mean, we've actually really, I've really tried to connect with Shalom without much success. I think Gary's, I mean, sorry, I think Reverend Lowenstein, I'm sorry. This is why I don't have meetings after 3 o'clock. Rabbi Steve is in demand. He is hard to schedule. So we have struggled to connect. But I've been successful specifically with the Jewish congregations with meeting with NSCI and Hakafa and.
They also have a board of trustees, which may be easier to get.
So I tried that door because I
Okay.
have a good friend on their board. She lives in Winnetka, which doesn't.
Yeah.
So this might just be, if that's your synagogue, like.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean,
We
we can,
can,
if you want
like
me to do
offline,
something.
just so we don't.
Yeah, sure.
About
If you
maybe
want.
a better inroad there, because
Yes, I mean, there are people there who I could see were a fit here, that are trustees.
if
and
nothing, just to
are
liaise, if
Yeah,
nothing else, like maybe they.
We're at a bar mitzvah coming. Like-
Yeah, so. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's fine if you wanna, yeah. if there's
It's hard
something.
to, like, the biggest sort of congregations in town are Shalom and Glencoe Union Church. And so that, like, I have a great relationship with Glencoe Union Church, so we kind of have that in the hand, but to not have.
NSCI wouldn't be bigger.
It's not as Glencoe.
I think they have I think
Oh,
they're
in terms of
bigger, but they might
population
have
of
like
Glencoe
more
people, I got it.
Highland, or I'm not sure.
Because I think it is technically bigger, but
Probably.
I think that would be interesting, Laura, to what you were saying, but also maybe consider if there is this whole refugee, they've been a massive support of that whole
Yes.
concept. And I think you guys have some either committee or group that has now brought in several families, and it would be cool if one of
Yeah,
the
they like
people would be.
adopt.
So does
Oh,
NSCI.
yeah, they adopt.
Right,
families, yeah.
but if the connection is there, I'm
Right.
just saying maybe if that person ended up being somehow involved in that, that to me would be kind of cool if they got involved with us,
I'm not
because
sure
that
what
would be.
committee.
I could look.
We
dealt with it all
It's like a
when we
good
were
thing and a
getting
bad
the
thing, but it's a
speaker.
really big city.
Well, you know,
I'm
it
happy to
came
connect you if
through,
there's something for
it
us
came
to do
through
with
the
them.
rabbi's wife
I mean,
at the
frankly,
time.
like,
She's really active. I'm trying to think of her name right now.
Julie.
Julie, thank you, yeah. So,
I think it's okay that some of these relationships are more blue, you know,
Yeah.
If we need something, we can go to them.
They
If
know where
there's
to find
something
us,
that's
we know to
appropriate,
find how to find
we
them,
can-
like,
Sure.
I'm not
We don't.
worried, I was before, like in the spring, I was very worried about some of what I was just as a trustee or sort of, you know, GCIC adjacent, this idea that the village wasn't, you know, that there were members of our community who felt unsafe, that they weren't being supported. You know, I specifically met with the different heads or tried to say like, what is that? Do you feel that? And if so, what does that look like and how can we help? Because that shouldn't be the case and without, you know, really without qualification, they were all like, yes, there's always, that's a component of our existence in the faith. But no more so now than always. And, you know, there are some folks understandably who are traumatized by the events of the past year. And so it may feel different, but it ultimately, in terms of the mainstream, like not mainstream, but the majority of their congregation, they felt like they were being seen and cared for, and the village, to the extent that the village should be responsive, is more than responsive, and most of that frankly has to do with public safety. And I can tell you, we've heard from both MSCI and Shalom this week that the coverage over
High
the
holidays
holidays
great.
was
It was great.
excellent. So that's really.
They were good this morning too.
Where the
They
members,
I would,
they would
there.
expect.
They were there.
So that's, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
but
fundamental.
part of it to me was that we had these quite a few openings all of a sudden, and so maybe there was room for consideration of that as we thought of other people coming on. But if
Yeah.
it seems like kind of not, it's being handled
My
different way,
sense with
that's
the clergy
awesome.
folks is they are slammed, like they can, you know, they're every week, it's like wash, rinse, repeat. They're just trying to get there, you know, I can't even imagine that schedule of having to preach every week and all their different
Right, well,
committees
that's, I
and
think
boards.
this idea could be an interesting one if we still,
Right. I don't
that's
think we need
interesting.
clergy just to have clergy though, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like, I think we'd have good Pastor K, like she was a good fit for the, like,
Absolutely.
but not because she was, just because she was.
Well,
Just
sort
kind of who
Just
she
because
was.
of who she was,
Yeah,
not because of the
100%.
clergy part.
I really agree with you.
Were there other open organizations? Sorry.
There was the,
Just, sorry, I don't mean to.
Nope,
the,
historical
uh,
society.
the next one is, that was open as a Park District followed by Historical Society. Those are the last two. So I know the Park District is in itself an independent entity.
I just, in terms of like partnering, the way we do with them for the 4th of July,
Yeah.
right? That's why they're listed.
Right. No, it's a good, aside from Fourth of
But
July.
maybe what you were saying, Emily, is that like, for the ones that don't, like, there's not a natural connection, then maybe the committee owns that.
And that's my point.
So
It's
I
just,
think
since
that's-
since it seems like most people hadn't looked into
I
this
think the
or
board
completed or
district
sent notes, like,
is certainly one of those.
and I'm happy to take that, like, my kids are still doing programming there, like I'm
Yeah,
yeah. we've done a
engaged
lot,
with the
yeah.
park district, so
Right, I think,
that's fine, but the goal from sending this out last month was to get feedback.
Mhm.
So we could sort of start doing so.
yeah, because really we go.
Let's do something. We're not
We really
zooming
have
out
to
here.
get a decision on.
Right.
I would go check shit.
If
to
there's
the
gonna be
spreadsheet.
changes, great, it's
I
just
filled it
more.
in. Thank you.
So I think,
very much.
yeah, I think that therefore the community relations, the Park District, anyone have I know I've gone to several events at the Historical Society, but I'm embarrassed to say that I don't speak to them outside of the events when I attend them.
and if I need something, I email Karen Adelson and I do, I mean, so I don't mean to. Maybe, but I mean, this is all sort of like, again, very adjacent to the work I already do with the village, so. They know where to find us, and then I in turn know where to find
At
you.
least we know like today, current state, this is what the
Right.
connections are, and
Absolutely.
then if we need to redistribute, we can fix it.
And there is there are columns in there of like status, upcoming events, any notes, like, so to the extent you have anything to add about your respective organizations, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I
And then
know.
it's just kind of like, we have a sense of what's going on, where we might have like opportunities to help with events or to do, whatever it might be.
And that's
That would be
helpful as,
great.
that's
Thank
helpful
you.
as we cycle out too. I mean, we're not here forever.
Exactly.
So we could
Exactly.
write notes for
The
our,
goal was
what
to
we've
make this
done.
like a living
living
document
document.
and not just like, and now you have this relationship forever and ever.
we can,
Sitting with
we can
someone
write
else.
notes about each relationship. It would help.
So the only thing I agree in general with what the tone of what's being discussed, but I'm thinking back on, was it this past year? Or the year before, we were saying, gee, we were sorry when we did July 4th, we forgot to include the park district or something. And so that's the reason for the committee person having it. And then there was the other, how am I getting there were two things where we thought, oh, we should have, if we'd had that ongoing conversation, that we would have remembered to include them. What was it?
Well,
There was
yeah.
another one and
When we did the like reframing.
Oh, yes, the
disability.
disability thing.
There was a
that we
little bit of
forgot
a
the
hiccup
park
there,
district,
for
and
sure.
then- So that was why I think we were trying to be sure kind of there was coverage, but if we think
Yeah.
there's enough coverage because we talk about events as a whole,
I
then
mean, I think the
then
idea
that's fine,
is
but
not just like,
that was the purpose.
you have an assignment, it's sort of like, if you have an organization you're working with, that means you're like in regular touch with them.
Mhm.
You have a sense of what's going on, and to the extent we're planning something independently as a council,
Right, we think of it.
we say, oh, we need to loop in so and so.
Right.
I think
And
that's.
then
the
worst
idea.
cases, you go to your spreadsheet, you're like, oh, Amy's name is here.
Right.
You reach out to Amy, hey, we're thinking we should talk to the library, and you're
Right.
like, oh, this, I
So
can do
it
that for you.
should be a living document.
I do
Yeah.
probably have, I think that makes perfect sense, and I'm sorry that I didn't.
Print it off.
And then does anyone have, or anyone
Yeah.
want to have an opinion as to
Employed.
the writer's theater?
What's that?
Yeah,
The
do you want
writers
to continue
team.
working
Yeah.
with
It's you, right?
Yeah.
Alright. I wanna make sure it's not.
Okay.
I mean, I think if it's any type of local businesses or anything of that nature, we'll go through Ben in the Village.
Yeah,
There's no, we don't usually partner with them, but we
the
definitely,
chamber.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce.
I think last time we talked about that, it was sort of like, that's like a village
Mhm.
thing as opposed to
Mhm.
us.
An individual, and unless someone here is a member, but still. Okay, then I think that gives
Oh,
them,
I know, and it was the Historical Society, because they were doing the whole, African American exhibit and that whole thing, and that was like, we wanted to partner on that with them, because we
Yeah.
thought that was a cool thing, and so the relationship there would be helpful.
Yeah.
We did that at the
Yeah,
time. so-
Raphael and I did that together,
Yeah.
and, again, I think fundamentally, like, it may just be a function of having been the chair or being the current chair, like,
Yeah, but
It's
that was-
natural
Yeah,
that
so long as it's covered in that way.
I think it is, and again, once we come down to events and come down to big events, that's when we all can pitch in. And reassign or redistribute, or if someone's
sure.
overwhelmed or issues with work or family, that's why we do it as a council, so that makes sense.
Is there a significant community organization we're missing right now?
Wasn't we interacted with in the past, like nothing's coming.
Just
to
family
mind.
service on
Schools,
that
what-
list?
Is what?
Is family service on that list?
Yeah, somebody was, I thought somebody was taking that, because I thought it came up.
Oh, we were
No.
talking, it was me and Elle,
Okay.
that we were gonna talk with your daughter.
Yeah.
I'm adding it for me.
Are you in it?
No.
Mental.
Yeah.
He's at it.
Yeah, or, yeah.
There's so many lists, so that feels like a really natural.
It does, and I think they think of us a lot, but still, I think it would be great for somebody
To be more
else to be,
intentional.
yeah, to be in touch.
That's a
and
great idea.
use it. So if you guys,
Yeah.
great.
So I used to try and.
Needs to know.
Yeah, it is.
Between the two of us. we just-
Yeah, and when, yeah.
The same one I lost updated that column too.
I think, any other time, with those other Glencoe organizations or councils, but they're pretty much easy to be reached. I mean,
I also like, if somebody comes up with something, you can email me outside of this meeting.
And you'll-
I'm curious.
I will update it.
We have another, we have 4 minutes to think of something.
You exist outside here.
Is the
District
one that,
95,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's you, yeah. Okay. So,
That's on that.
All right, well, I think that kind of gives a better definition of community relations, like who's to do what. Up next on the agenda, number B is communications.
to announce. That's us?
And-
Yeah.
and-
That's our, is that title?
Yeah,
I don't
because
think
remember you
so.
did all the social media. I mean,
Okay, maybe.
listen,
I don't
everyone
even
does
know.
everything.
I didn't name it. So, well, Elle, and I talked, and what we're just hoping is that the calendar, that I think everybody's had eyeballs on the calendar for the entire year. Everyone was okay with everything. So what our hope is going forward is that that calendar stands will change the fun facts or like that kind of stuff so that there's more information like every time. The calendar will flex with, add-ins like, as life goes on and different things happen, or there's something else to acknowledge or remark on. But that we would just work from that calendar and then fill things in with different facts. And then if anything changes in terms of something we're adding in terms of a remarkable thing or something, then we run it by you guys and you just.
So you guys, when you say the calendar, you're speaking of the, like the social media blasts, like,
Yeah.
National Kindness Day. or-
Exactly.
Okay, just,
Yeah.
I had that overlapped in my mind with events and I was like, is there an event?
This is the direction.
Yeah. And is what's the go forward on
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
things to write?
Oh,
getting to the heart of Glencoe?
Yeah, getting to the heart of
Getting to the heart of Glencoe. Well, I mean, I wrote one, I was waiting for Michelle to send a picture that was not pixelated or whatever, I mean, but I also said that it could run without the picture, but I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think if we still I mean, I saw it on the website,
Yeah.
went looking this morning, and it was nice just to see if we think that's still a draw for people, and you wrote it, why not have it be
Yeah.
out there?
I mean, It's old now, I don't even know what it
Oh,
says, could be
yeah,
horrible.
a reread would probably be a good idea. Well, we can do a reread. and that's-
I don't know, how like you read something you wrote a long time ago and you're like, what is this? But, I mean, I like doing it,
I think people like it. I mean, yeah, so if you don't mind it.
well, I think that one of the things that we kind of like circled around was, how do we pick people? Who do we,
Right.
whatever, and and I always at the bottom of the article would say, like, if you have someone that we should know the heart, getting to know the heart of, like, let us know, no one ever submitted anything. And so then it just was sort of like, somebody would tell me, oh, you should interview this person who works here, or talk to this person, and there was some like, I mean, it was Sharon that talked about like,
Yeah.
when people come to us and say, why did you interview that person and not this person? But I mean, I don't know that anybody's done that, but they could. What is our format for
Yeah, what's our
picking
process,
people,
right?
right? And my process really was sort of like, word
There's
of
a
mouth.
bid,
Right,
we
it's
put
word
it
of
on,
mouth.
make sure there's not anything horrible about them,
Right.
and then up we go.
Right, and there were people that,
I
that
don't
were
think so.
suggesting to me, and I would call them, they were like, yeah, I don't wanna be interviewed, like whatever, that was fine, but, so. I think it would either have to come from this committee,
Do we wanna
We
spend?
Have we ever written about Pascal?
not.
Maybe
individually,
it's
but
just-
now we
it's like-
could.
Maybe we need to know that we.
But
I was
he
just
sleeps
gonna say,
naked.
right. Tune in.
Have you been watching the hairdresser?
Oh, exactly.
What's on the golden bench? And he's doing well. I mean, I think that's what doing well.
I did not know. Well, I don't know if he needs any more PR.
Right, he would love it.
And he
Oh, I
is-
know he would,
he's-
yeah.
Or we could do, for example, like he has this amazing, it's assistant is not the right word. She is like his lieutenant, like his
Yeah.
number two, who works with him. Like
Yeah.
she would be a really good person because you could premise it as like, your boss is getting all this attention.
Right,
but,
Let's hear about you.
on the daily, we know.
Right.
Yeah,
what
that'll be
you
fun.
Really.
What's her name?
I will, do you remember
I
that?
could see his face.
I'll pull it up right now.
Pascal's the one
She
that,
has that
that's-
really big diamond.
that's supposed to.
She's
She's not to be tracked about the
Hey,
parking.
yeah, it was that, yeah.
Yes, the
Hey,
parking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was trying to hand out donuts and he said,
Oh.
oh, we need more parking. I was like, I'm just trying to give you.
It's a
really
really short
Right.
I used to get my hair done there too. We didn't have a lot enough time.
Working on it, working on it.
I don't know if Pete Cadence on the attention, but he could be.
Thank you, Ms. Lennon.
Pete Cadence.
'Cause he'll-
the
People
guy
get their
who
hair
owns
like
the
fancy
flowers that now.
It's- He wanted a
Yeah,
field
once,
call
I
on
think
it.
honey butter chicken is over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, but he's
He's still-
doing, I mean, he's doing.
I had no idea.
I tried to
Oh,
say.
yeah, look on Facebook,
Yeah.
the comments are gold.
Yeah,
The Golden Bachelorette,
I
this
get
is upsetting that you don't know this.
I didn't know.
Nothing's really
Oh, my
upsetting.
God,
no,
Everyone stop talking.
I know that show, but I didn't know,
Oh.
I don't watch it, and so I
Just
didn't
move it,
know.
I guess. I
I don't know
I
like
don't
how
watch
it
the
could have
show.
been
Do you
more
go to
widely
see it?
communicated.
No.
But whatever your channel is.
Okay, so the point is,
Yeah.
we have to, I'm happy to do it, but, you know, I
We have
don't wanna have to be the solicitor and the writer, because
Do you
that
want me
makes
to
it
do
seem
that?
too prejudicial in a way. You know, like I pick my people and I write about them.
Yeah, do you want me to, do we agree that, do you really want to pursue this? And I just sent you your email that I can reach out to Lisa and say we do this thing and we thought it might be kind of fun when.
Well, but is that I thought you were saying she brings some names forward and then you could say you looked at a few or something as opposed to, no?
I mean, we can just do this every month.
Yeah.
I think just go ahead and reach out and ask, we can get it started, get the ball rolling.
Is this like tomorrow Mac's gonna get mad? Is that-
And once we, and once we have a little more.
We'll do our next one.
Ideas, we can do.
I mean, I will-
We can do someone like, someone who's
Yeah.
new to the village staff, not too long on board, has been working here too long.
Yes, that would be a nice.
Oh, that's a good
I've been
idea.
here, what,
Yeah.
Score, but
You've been volunteering.
Or like, there was a public
we're gonna
safety
sit,
officer
we're
recently
gonna sit,
promoted.
we're gonna
We
sit
could do
into the
that.
bench,
There's
right?
some-
Yeah, absolutely.
Think the girlfriend.
I thought she would be happy to get us all.
There's the public works guy, looks like Ed Sheeran or Prince Harry, depending on how you see him. I don't know who
I
you're
don't
talking
feel like I
about.
would have noticed that.
Wait, wasn't there just a blast on the village website about you're hiring certain
Yeah,
positions?
they do, they,
So I
well,
mean, that would
they-
be,
Or like Talia, who's at the front desk,
Yes.
who now people are, you know, they're all, like, when you're like the public face of the village, I feel like people get kind of attached to you, but then
Mhm.
she got kind of an awesome promotion, yay, but now she's not at the front desk anymore. Might have a dual purpose of educating the public that she is now, you know, she's still here, but she's in this role, like.
so,
if you're up for doing it, I think there won't be a real shortage of very many people that will.
But I'm happy to do all the facilitation, that easy thing for me, if you just want to write.
and again, in that last email that we got, there was the calendar, if everybody saw it, the one that Anise updated with us, so refer to that, it's a really great job, by the way, thank you very, very much. Anything else besides you want a different name for your subcommittee, write that down. That's all right, Denise, that's all right, you don't need to shy away from your feelings here.
I didn't pick it.
Sharon. All right, up next on the subcommittees is events. We have only one, the lights participation, which has been and always will be the Friday after Thanksgiving.
I have a question about the GYS participation. If
Sure.
we're ready to contact Michelle, what is Snap and Yap doing, or doing? I just don't want it to be like we have disabled people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what? You know what I mean?
Yes, I know.
You
Yes.
know, like, what would
Well, I
they
haven't
ask
done
them to
like,
do?
yes,
Well,
I haven't been there for like.
Well, I know she normally has a table there and like gives out hot chocolate and they're there
Okay,
already.
but I think the little kids are there, right? Handing out like glow sticks. Glencoe used service.
I think you might be right about that.
I feel like they went around and shot glow sticks. at people.
And Ben wasn't here and Sharon isn't here, so. I
I
was there.
Those were 2 years ago.
Let me check in with Phil. I will get let's have a conversation, Ben, offline about what we're doing this year. Because the things that we historically do, then it's easier to say like, and we hand out glow sticks, and then it'll be easy to be like, wait, Phil, whose job was that last year? And I think you might be right. I think we might have, but it may have been informal. We may have literally.
Right, I
asked
just wanted
them
like
on
not
site.
my sassy thing I just said, but like about the not having to, but like just want to make sure there's something substantive, precise, yeah, precise and substantive that we're working together to do, not just.
Well,
exist.
I think we need to figure out what we're gonna do. So in the past, we've done this photo booth. Is that something, have you guys had any preliminary meetings?
We had the initial meeting, which was last month, which was wild to think that we're already in October. But that's kind of why we put it out here, was to float and see, you know, do you want to do the same thing you did last year? And I think, you know.
Photo booth is fun, right?
People love it.
I
Isn't
think-
it just say a stand? Was there not I wasn't there this past year.
No, it was different this past year.
different?
It was, there
Okay.
was like a big, it was.
It was
cool.
inflatable. Okay.
Yeah,
It was cool.
it's right by the front of the building.
Okay, so no one had to
Yeah,
hold
really
it to take
no.
pictures.
It was like right in here.
Worked really well.
Something you could walk into.
Totally.
The plan is
And they
that
got to
they're
take
coming
them
back the same person.
Okay,
Is it?
awesome.
Yeah.
And does that feel good to
Yeah.
everyone here?
Yes.
So I think we can easily, there were jobs.
Okay.
So
I just wanna
think-
like specify kind of like what a
100%.
meaningful thing for us to do together is.
Okay, perfect.
What did you hand out last year? And I wasn't there. 2
There
years
were
ago.
glow sticks last year too.
We handed out glow sticks, but I don't think that was the GCIC. I think really our whole thing was just the pictures.
Photo booth,
They got
yeah.
to walk away with them, like they.
There were like props too, right? I'm not
Yeah.
making this up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they can put stuff in.
I don't mean to be like a Debbie Downer, but is there anything we can do that's more environmentally friendly than this?
I'm.
Who did the glow sticks? Is that us? Or something
Did
like
they
that?
us?
already?
I'm
When they
virtually
left
certain it
those from
wasn't.
the side.
I think it was the village.
The village.
I assume like sustainability task force is working with you guys on
I think
that.
they also have a table or
Okay.
a booth or a space.
Could we get back to them and say, hey, we want to have a handout? I mean, we want to give away of some sort, but.
Any
we
ideas
really
for
want it to
plastic?
be more-
It's not so bad.
Any idea besides the glow stick? I mean.
They gotta have some ideas.
I know they're
I'm
fun.
kinda-
I love them as a kid,
Yeah,
but I
but
just
what
like.
else is-
Cause it's very dark. You kind of need.
Well, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
They have those,
Put them back.
they look like styrofoam, but they're like light up sticks, but they're styrofoam, they're battery operated, so they're not
Mhm.
just,
They don't more.
It'd be a very
friendly,
different
unfortunately, yeah.
it's a very good point. It's a.
Well, we
Anything
could
that
just make
wouldn't
it,
be
we
light.
could have better lighting in the first place, then, you know,
That's fun.
I mean,
get some
that could
big
be a
light.
start, that we just had better lighting, but.
Is there any thought at like these big things the village does of having like a sensory place for kids? It's a question.
Well, maybe that would be a better role for us.
I mean, as someone whose children had an epic meltdown last year because of it, like if there was like a room in like the village hall that people who are like
So
overwhelmed could
we
go to.
do have that like informally with the library. But I think
Could
we could be a lot more
formalizing it
intentional
is
about it.
like-
That's a good idea.
And then maybe we don't necessarily, like, part of the thing, like, I love the photo booth and I think we should do it as a village. I don't necessarily understand, like, we just staffed it, which is fine,
It's fine.
but it wasn't like, there was no real opportunity to be like, and we're here from the GCIC and blah, 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 and like, maybe that doesn't matter.
Nobody
Least big thing
cares
is the fact that
at
you've
that
got
time.
all the different sort of
Correct.
festivities covered with what they can.
That
do.
is
Just
absolutely
that-
true.
That's the key, that's the thought.
Right.
But
Yeah.
But I
maybe it
feel
could be
like
more.
that could all happen anyway.
True.
Because one of the things that we've been talking about a lot, like with staff, again, and kind of more adjacent in my role as trustee, is the idea that like, I think sometimes we get caught up thinking like, we don't really do anything as a GCIC, and in fact, we do a lot, and we've had I believe, and I see this as a positive, because I know there's been some criticism that we have some, secret agenda, but the agenda is inclusion and the agenda is keeping an eye on these concerns. And I think that we've had a really outsized impact throughout the village just by being in existence and having conversations with our local partners. And the most obvious thing I would cite is the renaming of that Booth Cottage. Like, all of those conversations grew out of conversations we facilitated between the Historical Society and St. Paul. And it's not to say it wouldn't have happened without us, but I'm not sure a lot of that, I feel like we should feel a lot of pride in the way that we inform village policy. So a good example with the photo booth would be like just making sure that the props are either ecumenical or inclusive or choose your, path.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to say GCIC all over it for us to own the fact that that wouldn't have happened without us. And that's really
Sort of
important.
Like the 4th of July.
100%.
We're not like out there being like, let's talk about inclusion, kids, right? Like, we're just there
Right.
because we're part of the
Right.
community and we want people
Because
to know we're here.
it's a signal to the community that this is something that we develop, the
Correct.
village values.
Yes.
And so.
And if anything were to come up and they needed an ear,
We're here.
Right. So I
I
just,
just might not be able to solve it, but it's about making those connections. I think that's really critical.
I think it's something that we don't necessarily celebrate
Thank you for
enough,
saying that. I
but
think
it's
helpful.
really, really important. And it's not as tangible as maybe some of us would like, but I think it's really important.
Do you think if we could make this sort of informal thing with the library?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
More.
Or if
I
it's
mean,
in here.
More, wherever it is.
I think we should do
So
that.
people know
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Try to reach out to
They
them.
become
Any
Or do you
breastfeeding
wanna reach out
rooms
to
and
Andy?
like
What-
older
you
people
know,
who need a break.
So,
They're like multi.
Let me
warm up, too.
clarify, so the library is absolutely like the warming station, bathrooms,
Mhm.
et cetera, and it's like not a secret, Andy kind of laughed about
And
it.
Writers Theater. it has
Writers
something
Theater
to
has
do, right?
that, we're right here, Ben and I will go back, we'll talk offline and figure out what's already in place
Mhm.
and where the natural
Right.
opportunity for that is, and then I think that is something that we could own that makes really good sense.
But just to be able to communicate it so people know.
Absolutely. The Glencoe Council for Inclusion and Community wants you to know.
Yeah.
Sirens aren't for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, if you need a break from the festivities, visit room 702. and
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Great call. Laura. Thank you.
And so depending on the sensory issue, but didn't they have the reindeer was over by the Writers Theater? I don't know, if it's still be there.
I think it was on the side, yeah, Side Street. Like the
Really?
line was Oh, yeah.
I think they had, anyway, they had, the guy was over that, really, now I can remember seeing him on the street there.
photo with the whole time.
And so that's a quieter side to the whole event, like if
Yeah.
some, to
Thought you were
kind of
gonna
get
add
away
in
from
there
it.
for
Your
quiet
place could
for the
be-
reindeer.
Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't, like if you wanted to be away from all the,
Animals.
like the
Yeah.
choo-choo going,
Yeah.
you're making its
Fair.
noise and whatever, that you could be a little on that side, but. So back to, I think this has been a really good discussion, but back just to not lose the point of if the giveaways, if we want some that would be
I'll make sure.
more
that's
sustainable,
communicated.
and might we consider better lighting so that lighting isn't so much the issue, and we could still figure what the little
By the time
handout.
I actually turned on the lights, it's very, well, 2 years ago, it was very, very dark. And the lights came on,
Totally.
and it was
It
great,
was
but
pitch
then,
black at the time.
and then you realize you're stepping on someone's foot. So I don't know if,
I'd freak out if my kids with that,
yeah.
No, they have those things that like gifts that are like big boxes that are lights, that are look like a gift.
Like a
you know, that
battery.
They can like,
Spread
around. Yeah, like, I don't know.
Are those run by battery? Is that in this?
That's what we did last year. There was like the 60022.
Right,
That
that
was
was-
that was kind of stuff.
You're right.
Yeah, it was lit up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we
more of
just
that
get a few
stuff.
more of those, and then we can put some over by,
know we
I keep
were-
pointing over here because it was right out there.
More hanging lights, right there.
So that's a girl.
Was there?
Was
It's
it
younger in
campus?
today's
Oh,
house.
that's true.
Was there food vendors last year?
That is true.
There was like.
I don't-
Yeah,
sweet
there was
variety.
sweet
Pretzel?
variety.
Oh. okay.
Sweet
Is there a
pie got me.
couple?
On Saturday for the
Yeah,
Yeah.
touch a truck.
just thank you. I was gonna say something so wrong. Thank God you said that. I brought water and I was telling Hillary.
The water was a huge hit.
It was a lot of people came by and I
We're
said,
like, can I
wonder,
buy this?
I wonder if we can get aluminum can, I don't know if we can order it by time, but a lot of times you can order personalized water bottles or aluminum cans of water, and cans are better because they're recyclable. And we could get Village of Glencoe, that way if the village wants to
Print
use
it
it on different events.
That's
Or
a good
the
idea.
boxes of water?
Yeah.
Or boxes,
Maybe less
whatever,
GCSE
whichever.
hydrates.
We have a bunch.
We have a bunch.
Oh, we do?
I don't know what it
Or
was.
inclusive.
I mean, it could probably cover water, I would guess, but
So it's just
it
one of
just
those where
depends
I
if
just
we
went,
start losing.
I just went to Mariano's and got that in the donut holes. And I felt bad because I was across the way from the
Donut vendor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oops.
you didn't buy that many. It
No,
to
it was-
really
it was-
throw that guy off, I don't think. But
But I mean, that could be something that we could hand out that night because
it
even if
was
it is,
cold though,
even
if
if
you
it is.
remember.
Last week.
I stuff,
I
no,
mean, last
no,
month,
no.
Last year.
Last year was cold and I just don't know if that if it, how
Or,
the
or
water
if we,
gets.
or if we decide to pass out any kind of beverage, we can always get a paper cup with either our initials on it or something on it, so that when people are walking around, they're holding up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did,
exactly.
again, I'm sorry, I wasn't there last year, but did anything come of the idea of getting people to go into the stores on some kind of a
Yeah.
stamp?
But I don't, yes, there was some component, we encouraged people to.
I was at the booth also, I don't remember seeing that, but
I was tied to
that would be cool, from, I think if the store, if
Did
the,
the
if they're
stores-
open, stores
Did they
want
stay,
that.
did they stay late last year? That we know we're gonna ask them to. I don't know if they really did. Again, I wasn't here.
They did. They did. Just trying to see.
And we do have a menorah up, right, over on the side, or no? The Chabad does, or whatever.
I don't think so.
Think so. I think
Last year,
There was no
Chabad
tree
was
either.
over by Friends Park.
And there's no
Okay.
tree here,
Right,
right? It's
so-
just
No,
lights,
That's the one
It's
thing,
lights.
Which is-
yeah,
just a tree.
yeah.
Sometimes they're
I think
trees.
three of those lights that we sing.
I think Writers Theater has one, but inside.
Yeah.
Oh,
But that's there.
And they have
so
Santa,
they can
yeah.
put it in Santa.
I didn't mean to derail, I just was it, so.
No,
We
these
can
are-
move on.
No, we can look into
well,
this.
for those of you that are on that planning committee, these are good ideas, I think.
Or if you guys need help,
For
if you guys,
sure.
if you guys need help with that, to reach out, let us know.
Yeah.
We can also.
Something with a million ideas in that.
No, but these were some really,
Follow-up.
there's some nice things here.
So we got the photo booth. Ben and Hillary, we're gonna meet offline in regards to break areas, considering the library, the village hall, maybe even Writers Theater to have the warming center slash, what you call it,
Sensory
recharger,
room?
sensory room or
Yeah, no,
recharge
it's not a
room?
warming center, it's a sensory
Okay.
area, like
Break-
much the same
break
way
room, sensory
Raphael
room.
during the touch
Yeah.
a truck for the last hour, they turned the sounds off, like that was really.
Theoretically. they did.
Popcorn, I did.
I
They didn't really.
I know,
Talk to the boards.
It was, yeah, the kids were like,
Yeah.
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 In some ways, it was like more jarring because a lot of the noise was off, but then all of a
Kind of
sudden.
loud.
out of the
Sometimes
darkness,
it's the thought is
That's
not,
probably
you maybe
right.
got people there who like wouldn't have otherwise even attended
Yes.
the adventure
I think
there.
it's possible we might want to consider like a 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. like
Usually
on the
they're
front
first,
end.
usually
Yeah,
they're
it
first,
probably
like when you
would
go
be
to
better.
like Legoland, the first hour is the sensory, not the last.
Good feedback for
Yes,
that.
I heard from people. So.
It's less people go the first hour anyway. You're not trying to get people to stop noise. You're just not starting the noise.
right.
I think we have some issues to work on, not issues, but some goals to meet in regards to that. So let's move on next to integrating community feedback. Again, this is where soccer and I are really dropping the ball. And the entire point is to get a questionnaire, to get it out on the email that the village goes out to see if people will respond to the questionnaires and the forgot the surveys, is that the right word? The surveys that we want to get out.
So is it challenging to narrow in on the questions?
Correct. It's like some of the questions that when you're gathering data, which I've learned thanks to soccer, when you're gathering the data, the questions have to be tailored in a certain way, so that way you're getting helpful data and not just
But does she know those
Yes.
ways? Right.
yes, she does. And the questions that I found were either too generalized, not specific enough. And the main goal of the feedback is to find out what the residents here have an appetite for. And many people said that they wouldn't mind a festival or a something celebrating the diversity of the residents of Glencoe. This would also be a springboard for us to ask about if they're interested in a speaker series. And if so, but to see that, because then if it's an open-ended question, then that's when we'll get all kinds of random data.
Mhm.
Because if I ask them, if we say, what kind of feedback, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, you have to guide them to those.
Give them like
things,
4
but-
options and see which ones get.
Correct, like it's
sliced.
either A, B, or C instead
Yeah.
of, because if not, then
Yeah.
maybe we're gonna ask for a
Yeah.
dissertation of the Muppets or something that
Do we-
unrelated.
Think that at this point, it would make sense to have it post-election so that we don't get, I mean, depending on if
That's
you
how we-
wanna
Yeah, it's
offer
not gonna
any.
happen.
So,
No.
It's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen this month or
Yeah.
next month, because once we find the questions, we're gonna bring them to you guys.
Yeah.
Rather-
Isn't it more like after Light the Lights, we would send out, like, I thought the premise was we were gonna send something,
Correct.
bless you, out in response to an
An
action.
event, correct, yes, we were.
So
was-
that is that, so
Correct.
like in the first month of December, we'll shoot to have this thing go out.
Correct. And
That says like, what did you think of the sensory?
because one
Right.
of the surveys that we did get back was like the lights, and that was from years ago. And that was an interesting survey to get back and read the results of like the opinions of people from Glencoe and people that would visit Glencoe for Light the Lights. But
Okay.
but yes, that's
We
what
got
that's
time,
what
I
that's what
think, for
is our goal, we're getting it by the first month of November, but it's also gonna be a switch because it goes into topic number 5, subcommittee assignments. Because of the numbers that we are, Laura, aside from her community relations contacts, is kind of she's like the rogue agent right now, so wanted to ask if you wanted to be part with Sakura in the integrating community feedback.
If you're already working on it, then I don't feel like I have.
I talk about a lot about myself.
It's up to you. I'm fine to like just help
Lot
when
of Google
needed.
searching, and I was like, oh, that's wrong.
It's either way.
Or
it's
do you want
fine.
to, or would you prefer to be like a floater?
I can float.
Okay.
Because if you're already like working together, I don't want to disrupt. It's fine to
just.
just give me stuff to do.
Okay. Now, this is an opportunity, again, when we talked about these subcommittee assignments, it wasn't permanent. So if anyone has a request or wants to offer a trade, I'm in fantasy football, but I'm the worst in my league. I am,
I'm 6.
well, I'm horrible. I don't even play anymore. It's a waste of money. Anyway,
I am totally open to be on any group that somebody would wanna trade about, but I'm also fine to stay where I am, but I am.
so
happy
for right
to
now,
go
since no one's
somewhere else.
really, except for Amy, we'll just keep it as is. And if something happens, then we can always revisit it.
Well,
So,
again, it's like, we're all just, like, the groups are like leading, but we're all doing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be a floater to help you and Sakura if I can help with, anything
Can you have
that way.
I can, no.
Or
we
just
can't.
be, I can be the informal, hey.
I can, and if I need
If
to.
you want me to
if-
flush the questions with it
Correct.
a little, so, because I'm not as busy as you are, so I
Okay,
would have time to
something,
do
it's something
that.
that,
Do you want to take integrating community feedback and I'll go back to community relations and we'll do Raphael with that? I don't know, because I'm just
Okay,
thinking if
that's
you want
right,
something, if
same,
you
yeah.
want to do something else and you're interested in the integrating community feedback, sorry, that's what it's called, integrating community feedback. We could do a double switch.
So I go.
You would go to
with
integrating,
Sakura,
yes,
And,
and I would go with Emily back to community relations.
and where does he
Raphael
go?
floats.
And Raphael, but which, you know, is
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Makes a lot more sense because he's already the chair.
Yeah. And you have your name against so many of those
And
community
then
relations
somebody
anyway,
takes
so.
the library and the Botanic and.
Well,
You
Or
still-
no.
not necessarily.
We're just the
no,
lead.
you,
But
you,
still
because those are
not.
relationships, you would,
Okay.
those.
You keep the relationships, but I will
But in.
just
but in-
manage the spreadsheet, that's. all.
Okay, yeah, I
Correct.
actually think that's critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I manage the spreadsheet and I will show up and staff every event that
There
we
you go.
ever do.
Yes, you do. You have proven that.
Were there even when you weren't working, you were working on Saturday.
Okay, then I guess that'll.
You like
I mean,
that?
that's
That's
fine
kind of
if
a
you-
creative,
Sure.
that's a creative thing if you, yeah.
I'll email Sakura. I don't think she's gonna have an issue with it, but I think that'll, but.
Decision.
Community relations is
Nice.
more my wheelhouse than integrating community feedback.
Okay. I guess we can then move on. Oh, yes, anyone in the public have a comment after this? Okay. Item number 6, future goals and expectations. We handed out a prior community relations forum mission statement and goals. I think that over the past year, we've had a rebuild of the council and in essence of trying to better organize ourselves internally so that when we do have a goal or an event, roles are better defined versus it just falls on 2 or 3 people. And so when we were here at the last meeting, it was just, what is it that we want to accomplish for next year? And I thought it'd be good to bring it up now in October versus trying to do it either right before like the lights or before the end of the year. And then all of a sudden the first Monday of the new year, we're still don't have any ideas what we would like to accomplish or what we would like to do.
So should we do a quick inventory of what we like know to be true? Like presumably we're doing like the lights this year, presumably we'll do like the lights in 2025. We do the 4th of July,
We do something with the sidewalk sale.
we
for
do something
Friday.
with the sidewalk sale.
Talking about events just as a bucket, but that's not.
Well, or
everything,
just,
but yeah.
but I mean, it's,
Well,
that all takes a lot of work.
No, I'm just saying that I would call it under a heading of events. There's other things that might be goals that we want to talk about that are not events.
No, but it was.
I would just meant like, let's just take chart, let's just do a quick inventory of what.
I put it together
March.
last year and I'll send it again, so you can take your notes and compare it, what we.
Yeah,
Before we-
come and did
The current
this.
state of whenever that was when we started putting it together.
Because you just sent me the notice saying that which is actually awesome timing, the D35 belonging
Oh,
event
when is
is
that gonna
now
be?
It's gonna be
in
March.
March.
Oh, great.
Which is a much better, like,
That's nice.
Yeah.
move away from such a busy time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they want to partner not with just being present and
Correct.
representing GCIC, but also promoting it within the community.
Yeah.
So that's where, how do we bring that and share on social media as well, so people know it's happening?
Yes. So that's
Oh,
gonna
I'm
be awesome.
So like the
Yeah.
lights, 4th of July, the sidewalk sale, the D35 in March. What else do we normally?
Light the lights?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
So it was recently.
That's solid.
Sidewalk sale?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So related to sidewalk sales, so I recently had lunch with Andy Camus, which I do from time to time. So not encroaching on your library, but just, it was a different, more of a top line kind of conversation, but one thing that he requested that we consider is being more intentional about partnering with the library, we the GCIC around Pride Month and Banned Books Week next fall. And I thought, well, there's a nice long runway
Yeah.
between now and June
That's great.
next
And-
fall.
Right.
And so I thought I would bring that all back to you guys.
Do they have a published calendar for the things they're doing?
Yes,
Which kind of
no.
lets us stay in tune with it a bit
He
more.
is sending it to me. He's sending me, because one of the things I said to Andy is I said something that frustrates me, but frustrates.
Mm,
It's more like, oh, shucks, that,
Yeah.
missed opportunities. And perfect example, I got my library newsletter today and they're like, oh, October 19th, they're doing this Indian dance. What? Right. And I was like, why are we not having these conversations? Like, why is this, something's not getting
Yeah.
through? So we are working on that. And so it may be too late for Indian dance on the 19th, because that's like next week. But it's an example of I said, can you just like send me like a list? It doesn't have to be like the actual dates or the actual events, but like however this is organized, on Wednesdays we wear pink or whatever. So I will follow up with him about that and just.
What
see.
is that Indian dance? I didn't see it on the thing.
I will send it out to you
Is
guys.
it an event at the library? or-
It's actually gonna be at the Take of Center, but it's a
Okay.
library event where they're bringing in,
It's probably the Diwali,
it's not, because it's October 19th. Valley is like late,
November, was the same day as Halloween,
yeah,
Oh.
but,
and there's only.
and
so
isn't
many
the
days.
women's
Yeah.
library club doing
I haven't.
not as much? But like,
Right.
why wouldn't we celebrate that under the banner of Diwali?
Yeah.
That's probably not too late. Okay.
I need to connect with WLC. We can turn that around very quickly, which can be a date, and it can be a little later as well, so later in November, but.
I will send this to you guys and then circle back to Andy. See. at the very least, can't we highlight it as part of our social media, like the way that you guys send things, and then it's like.
What have we done this year,
Yay.
even if it's already happened, right, depending on.
One
when
of
it's
the
coming.
things we talked about, and I think this was why we were like, to Ellen, is that. We were hoping to not just have something, have a fun fact, but also be able to direct people, like when it was. Mental health awareness month, that like, these are resources that are out there, like in Glencoe and maybe in the broader universe. So that people, it's not just sort of like, okay, we did our due diligence, somebody knows this exists, but it's also like, what are the resources around
Right,
this?
to be,
Um,
yeah.
So. Maybe we can incorporate that.
Is that an affirmative? I don't think, we don't need more than that on like finding out more about what that could look like, Pride Week and.
Yeah, great.
Week.
Did he say like how far, because every time I'm. They plan things well in advance, like, do they have?
They're usually a quarter to.
What's stopping them from sharing it with us?
Yeah.
Clearly,
I think there's a lot of complexity to that.
There's
We
a
just
few
don't
hands
bridge
in
the-
it, right?
No, it's just,
So we just don't bridge the relationship.
it's a sticky wicket.
Okay.
I think there's.
It's, well, it's like every.
Aggressiveness, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, not yet dance theater, I'm probably saying that wrong.
Yeah, so it would have been cool to be able to link that.
Well,
to-
we're still can. I'm gonna
Yeah.
email you the link. I'm gonna reply to our meeting, because this is just information, so no one reply to this email. But I'm sending you the calendar link, so you have it in your inbox. Then I will circle back to Andy and see what he had in mind, like. But I have nothing, there's.
So I think that, that gives us sidewalks help, Fourth of July, like the lights, Pride Month, D35.
Oh, if Writers Theater does the drag story hour,
Yeah.
participate in that again.
So,
It's
right,
also during Pride Month, but
Correct.
just there are,
there's been, like, last month, we ended up having, last year, we ended up having like at least 3 kind of events in the village that we didn't end up publishing a calendar, but
We support.
we just
And
supported
that's-
them and we can
that's
be,
yeah.
continue to be really intentional about that. So more to come.
Okay.
And what you said, right, it's the value of the presence, right? The
Yeah.
presence of GCIC means something,
Correct.
and that's the message to reinforce.
was it President's Day or MLK Day when Public Safety did the backpack preparation with the church?
Oh, that was us.
That was us and that was.
At Absalom?
No,
Or-
it was
or
at a church.
For the migrant, for the
Yes.
migrant.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was me.
distribution. That was Hillary and.
That was me in the Glencoe Union Church. With the village, me.
And Public Safety, right? They were,
Public
yeah,
safety
yeah.
staffed it, yeah.
yeah,
Because we thought that just made sense, but.
Right,
it was
okay.
That was technically.
So do you think that?
Us, you?
Me.
I don't even know that was us,
Us,
you.
you.
I was there
So,
and I didn't
again-
know it was us, you.
Well, again, it's not really.
Right, but I'm just,
necessary that it always be like.
and I'm not saying we need to say that, but like maybe we could know that.
100%, and
That's.
I will own the fact.
I know, I'm not trying to.
No, that's the
But just- Yeah, we're thinking about things that we're doing,
Yeah. Yeah,
because I would have,
well, that was a really, that's a really good example.
The sense of pride would have been different, knowing that.
well, just, I also probably would have, I found out about it like 2 days beforehand and was like, oh, I'm gonna bring my kids.
But the other issue with that is that it can be a politically divisive topic. That, for me, going there and volunteering your time to get these to the migrants.
Yeah.
It is the humane thing to do.
Well,
Other people,
Certainly under that banner, and it was
Other-
actually privately funded
Correct.
by Glencoe residents.
And
Like,
like
there was a
my wife-
donation.
my wife
link
and I and my daughter, we actually went and bought the items and put the baskets together
Yeah.
that were then. But there were also the other side of that coin is that there were people at the train station taking photos and videos of the migrants transitioning from the bus to the
And the
train
people serving them.
and the people serving them.
What?
So
So it was-
are you saying that you wouldn't want to have to publicize that GCIC was?
No, for me personally, I have no problem with it. But it's one of those where be aware that if we do, again, we can't make everybody happy.
There's gonna be
there might-
backlash.
There might be, so I have no problem with that.
I'm fine with that.
But yeah,
As, I mean, no,
because that's what.
as friends told me.
But I think that
It
it's
is.
partially like to get back to your question, Emily, like a little bit how it wasn't quiet, it wasn't a secret, it was all on the website, it was posted a million times on social media and in our, but it wasn't a political activity. It really grew out of the fact that we passed an ordinance that said, look, we don't have the capacity to navigate migrants arriving here in Glencoe unless they, unless under these circumstances, which sadly we knew they weren't gonna be met. We knew that that was gonna kind of, close off people arriving in Glencoe, and that was really the safest thing.
Right.
But then in those conversations with community groups and churches in particular, churches and synagogues and particular religious organizations, they were like, well, like, we're not that comfortable with the sort of language of saying you can't come here. And the village in turn was like, well, we will put resources behind this. We will do appropriate things that we are well suited to do, but we don't have a hall where we can put 100 people in the middle of the night. We do not have, so that was very much how that developed.
Sure.
And, if not for the GCIC, do I think it would have happened that way? Probably not. But was it explicitly a GCIC activity?
And I understand, that's totally fine, I get that.
And because in maybe in some ways, like, it wasn't intentional, and I don't think anyone was trying to it wasn't a secret, but I don't know that for whatever reason, labeling it the GCIC makes it feel like something different than
Yeah, I
just humanitarian aid.
And for me, it was at the heart of what this organization is supposed to be about. Welcoming and inclusive regardless of your background or whatever. It's just that at the time when it was happening, it was very much a hot
yeah,
and divisive topic. And it still is. And if you actually look at the numbers of the amount of migrants sent to Illinois from other states, the numbers are mind-boggling.
yeah.
And so when Hillary organized it for us, I'm sorry, for my family, it was more or less kind of like an opportunity to give back and also to show my daughter, this is all they have.
Right.
This is all they're
Many
going through.
people were feeling that
But
way.
when we found out that there are other groups that don't accept it, don't support it, and they would, and I mean, the drag story art, showing up with face coverings and sunglasses, things of that nature. I have no problem combating it. I have thick skin. But it's just one of those that we didn't. It's uncertain how much, because we are a volunteer organization, how much you all want to put yourselves out there.
Well,
So
do you think we need to think of that on an ongoing basis, or was
To
that,
think of what.
that having to, or being appropriate to be supportive of that migrant issue? Or has that?
I think I would say, like, personally, I think that
Wilmette more and.
so there have not been buses arriving, so Wilmette, so as a result of my involvement with the village, I then got really tied into the work being done locally for migrant families, and we could spend hours, like, and I'd be happy to sit down with any one of you and tell you what that landscape looks like, and we can certainly do that, but in the end, Wilmette also passed an ordinance in May, and the buses effectively stopped.
Oh,
So then it became more a question of like, what happens with all of the supplies that we've gathered and all of these networks that we've created, because this was all just like volunteers and, high functioning volunteers who kind of came together, and there was all this like stuff and all these questions, to Raphael's point about, there's plenty of needy people in the Chicagoland area. What do we now, how do we use what we've learned to serve whomever, whether they come from Venezuela or Evanston, it doesn't really matter. So that effort continues, but it's not as much local, it's more like, what are the neighborhoods in Chicago whose Chicago public schools have been impacted by a large influx of
Migrants.
of migrant children. And what do their needs look like as we're heading into winter again, right? So if you're interested in learning more about those networks, that is something I'm happy to discuss with you kind of on a personal basis.
That's a drive that we should be promoting and supporting.
For sure,
Feels like it to me.
but I think the question for me is always like, and I'm only one person, and I don't mean to sound like I've got multiple personalities, but like, I always have to be very mindful, like, in what capacity am I serving? So for the most part with the migrant stuff, after that drive, that was me, like Hillary Scott, private citizen, doing my work, because I just was in it at that point. I don't know what role the village has in this, given that it is no longer a local issue. We had some folks, as you know, periodically kind of panhandling in Glencoe. I think that might have been an avenue for us to get involved, but fortunately, it seems to have resolved without it becoming a larger issue.
So you're saying if someone wants to participate on their own
Yeah.
as a personal endeavor, that's the way to go versus hey, GCSEs, we'll make this drive together to do.
We can do
No,
that.
I think that if we decide
We can do it
to,
with Light the Lights. I mean, that might be
if we
a,
do a sidebar or side hustle of
Let's do
of
it.
but it being of a community awareness, whether it be collect winter coats and they can be donated to the certain center. It doesn't only have to be migrants, the homeless of Chicago or.
Right.
because
homeless
all
up-
of this is
homeless
so
up north.
interconnected, like.
I also think like most of I know the synagogues, I'm sure the churches have like a
Absolutely.
coat drive,
Right.
right? So like we
Also,
could,
the
if
the Toys for Tots.
Toys for
Right,
Tots,
exactly.
right? Like
Yeah, so there's plenty that
Yeah.
already.
It's
we
just-
could just assist with those efforts.
Exactly.
So-
What about the
Sure,
collections
times
that we have,
village.
like the lights?
So
It's a
that.
good
Collection box that like.
A
nice.
collection
idea.
box of it.
Yeah,
Collection.
Light the Lights.
Yeah.
You either bring in a
Toy.
decide the toy
Right, it
coat,
could-
Whether
boots,
it's
whatever.
coats and gloves and.
And then from there, we
Right,
can partner with, or if we already have partnerships with any kind of community outreach
The refugee
organizations.
one, the guys who came to speak,
Yeah.
they've got a coat thing going on
Yeah.
next.
So,
Or even there's SALT, which is a service and learning together. It's an
School
based in
supplies?
Highland Park. And they do different combinations of things, but I know that they would happily receive anything to be collected.
Yeah.
And they were the nice thing about SALT is they were super involved in the migrant piece because they just sort of already had the infrastructure. And so they advised and sort of helped us to be more efficient in serving that particular population. But then if there was overflow or they had everyone else that they were serving and,
Yeah.
and so that might be a good part of it.
So is the net takeaway of this that is less of a fit, quote, Glencoe Village at this point and more just all the many community things, other than we could
I think
certainly
a
put
drive or
up.
something like that is a great idea. I mean, for me, it's like more is more is more. I'm always happy to, I think things like this bring communities together. I think it's just.
Having one at Light the Lights is easy for people.
Yeah.
100%.
Especially like gloves or something.
Yeah.
Anything just small.
Right,
Right.
So do you guys wanna
Right.
try and have a donation
I've
box
got random
for
hats
this
around
Light the
there.
Lights or
And
for?
sizes down.
Yeah, I think we
This
should
one,
put this one.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is that possible? I mean, what do we have? a month and a half?
Sure it is, Ben. It's possible.
Let's do it, Ben.
Yeah.
Let's make it
Don't
happen.
bring about inserting myself as stash and, doing the things that other people aren't available to do.
So just a soft survey, what do you guys wanna collect? They already
Hats,
have-
hats and gloves.
They already have
is
Toys for
easy.
Tots
Hats and gloves.
box here in the village hall. We can always promote that, but.
So
at-
that
at
could
the-
be an option, yeah.
So
But-
that
Just so that we
will-
don't confuse.
But I
think
mean,
we need to
they're,
raise
they're,
that.
they're like the lights, something small, like you were saying.
Hats
something
and
that's-
gloves,
hats and
yeah.
gloves.
And I can check
Or
in,
do socks, but I don't think you can do all three, so.
I can
Easy
check
to
in with
pick up a
Salt
pair at Target.
and see what.
Right, exactly.
I think it helps to have an organization that's gonna distribute so that we literally just like take it in and then we bust it out.
Cause that's the thing, right? People also wanna know where it's going.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the nice thing about Salt is it's local. I just wanna double check with Phil because if we are doing Toys for Tot, like, does that feel wholly separate? And is it okay to just have this be a one-off, like, at the light, the
You're not
lights,
gonna-
very
yeah.
specific ask. So, but I think that's really great. Sure. Sorry, I'm just.
Okay, I think that, the future goals and expectations we've outlined plenty for the coming year as well as the, right, the latest and rest of the year.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead. Or
Did we, cause I wasn't at the last meeting, did we ever land on if we were putting up signs at the voting areas? At all?
Signs to say vote.
Well, it was something like,
Like,
something about being
kind,
kind
be civil.
and, yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was something about like, I don't know about be kind, be civil, but like, so it was something like that, where it's just sort of like, like we celebrate all perspectives, something like that, that's just.
Respect all, something.
Yeah.
I don't, we had talked about it, but I don't know if it ever.
I mean, are the only, the vote, if I recall correctly, our vote, my voting place is the middle school, the central,
Central, yeah.
Yeah.
is it so? Can we get,
Mine's optional.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it-
mine too.
Nursing.
so the question is whether we can get signs made, put up, now, the,
Do we think we need to, is questions.
Is that appropriate near a polling place for us?
and the other, that's the
I
other
mean, I'm
issue
not like
is.
opposed to it, I just don't know if it's, like, as a personal matter, I just don't know if it's like appropriate for anyone from the village to have a sign. Or
Yeah, I think this is.
that might be like a Phil question.
Yeah, it's just a
Like-
bill, I think there's like a.
Village attorney, because you can't.
The village attorney.
Well, no, because-
No, it really
because-
is.
No, it is, because there's, the law says you cannot post politically motivated or advertisements or signs or within a certain amount of feet within
Yeah.
them. That's why you see all the signs all of a sudden showing up and then just stopping. So the question then becomes is, we'd have to get permission from the school, we'd have to get permission from the village attorneys. We have to get permission from anyone on
we
private
still-
property.
Have a long runway. Right.
Well,
Okay,
and
I
keep
just,
saying, I
we
don't
had
know
brought
if
it
it's-
up and I didn't know,
No, I love it, I
I didn't know
love
where
it.
to
like
land.
that.
I
Put it down to
I
a
love
social
it.
media post.
We are, we usually
But
do
for the
issue,
election?
yeah, don't we?
Where all this is on?
No.
No, just like a social, like the be kind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we
this
always.
is
This is a
rough
rough season
selection
on
day.
everybody, be kind.
Yeah,
as
we,
we
I think
remember
last
your
election
neighbors.
we did, it was something like, in the spirit of election, we just like to, remind everyone to please, respect opinions, respect your neighbors.
Well, vote and.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't hurt.
It could just be
to vote
something
and.
like, vote with a smile or something, like, it doesn't have to be like, so, I mean, I think there's a way to like nod to, we understand this is a crazy time without.
But I think
Saying we
the
don't
village,
Putting
the
it online.
village
There is
does,
something.
the village does
Okay.
post something and we post something on, the JCIC page.
Just curious.
But ask Phil, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to
I
get.
think it
actually
seems more
get signs up.
achievable to do it like through social.
Social media is
Yeah.
always easier with their pages website, so. I mean, I'll wear a t-shirt, Anise with a big smiley face, that says,
Okay.
Yeah.
Be kind.
vote with a
No, I
smile,
just think hashtag be kind.
so, but I like that.
Still trying to bring
I
that
know,
down.
yeah.
So moving on to the next item on the agenda, other business. This is an opportunity to discuss something on the agenda that is not listed, that is our purview, or something that we need to announce that we think it is within our purview. Does anybody have anything under other business? Okay, and the next item is adjournment. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Anyone opposed? It carries.